Training made you think control is normal, that a job succeeds, degrees equal intelligence, working win by working harder. But behind that illusion is a secret system transforms free will into submission utilizing machines, not force repetition. And here's what should haunt you. Most people will spend their lives defending the system that murders their potential. They'll worship it, work within it, raise their kids in it. Because once the programming is deep enough, the cage becomes invisible. But if you're here, that means part of you already sees the fissures. This isn't simply an audiobook. It's an elimination of mental scripts, of obedient intelligence, and of the version of you they constructed to stay silent. Because what I'm about to provide you isn't motivation. It's a brain hack to escape the matrix, to reconstruct your thinking, and to think like the 1% who never needed authorization. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Unseen Machine That Runs. Chapter 1. The Hidden Machine That Runs Your Mind. If you were sincerely thinking for yourself, why do your thoughts look precisely like everyone else's? You were born with a mind, but you were never taught how to own it. Before you could talk clearly, mechanisms were already influencing your thoughts. School, religion, television, societal standards, each of them given you language, rules, beliefs. Not so. You could think better, but so you could be regulated more readily. That's not paranoia, that's design. The truth is, 99% of individuals travel through life with borrowed thoughts. They're not stupid. They're merely mentally conditioned. They believe what they're told. They fear what they're trained to fear. And they chase what they were programmed to chase, even if they can't articulate why. And what's worse, they'll defend that system with their life. Because when the mentality is indoctrinated, the jail becomes invisible. The real system isn't external, it's absorbed. Most people assume the system is a government, a school, a corporation, a law. No, the genuine system is the mental autopilot you were never trained to question. Let me show you what I mean. If I asked you why you went to school, you'd probably say to gain an education. But why is education something you only acquire from a school? Why does a piece of paper hold more value than actual knowledge? Why is learning history, repeating formulas, and obeying bells considered learning? It's not because it works. It's because it conditions obedience. You weren't being taught how to think. You were being taught how to submit. And themekinism, it rewards such submission. It gives you honor when you follow, punishment when you question, and a payment when you stay quiet. The intellect of the 99% taught, controlled, and timed. Here's the real formula. Train the child to follow structure. Reward them for performance, not truth. Time their life around bells, clocks, deadlines. Tie their identity to external approval. Convince them they're free, yet they obey every step. That's the mental program functioning in most people, and that's why they never escape. They don't doubt their 95 because everyone else works 1. They don't doubt their schooling since it came from authority. They don't question money, religion, law, success, because questioning seems uncomfortable. And the system is smart. It doesn't need violence. It just needs your agreement. The distinction between you and them. If you're still listening, you've already separated from the 99% because your curiosity hasn't been killed. Your quiet hasn't made you obedient. And down inside, you know you were never supposed to be just another programmable unit in their machine. You were born with a mechanism inside you far more powerful, one that questions, links, and builds new meaning. The problem is, no one ever told you how to activate it. That's what this audiobook is for, to help you outthink the system, not with insurrection, but with clarity. Not by yelling louder, but by seeing deeper. Not by breaching rules, but by making your own. In the next chapter, I'll show you how even intelligent people become obedient, and how the system rewards brilliant minds solely if they stay inside the cage. We'll reveal the illusion of success and uncover the true trap hidden behind your Chapter 2, The Trap of Smart Obedience Ambition. Chapter 2. The Trap of Smart Obedience. The system doesn't fear your intelligence. It fears what you'll do with it once. It's no longer for sale. What if I told you that brilliant individuals are the easiest to trap? Not because they lack awareness, but because their awareness has been redirected. They're appreciated for their logic, rewarded for their memory, boosted for their ability to tackle challenges they didn't choose inside a system they never built. It sounds like success. It feels like achievement, but below it's often mere intellectual obedience clothed as ambition. Intelligence was never the problem. Direction was school doesn't murder intellectual people. It basically redirects their curiosity into confined lanes. Solve this equation, but don't question who designed it. Write this essay, but stay within the rubric. Get good grades, but don't question why you're being assessed. You're not rewarded for insight. You're rewarded for compliance in high resolution. That's what I call smart obedience. You're bright enough to implement the system flawlessly, but too conditioned to challenge why it exists. It's how doctors, engineers, attorneys, and academics become high-performance prisoners. They know a lot, but they hardly know themselves. How? Clever people get caught deeper than anyone else. Here's the conundrum. The smarter you are, the more validation you gain from the system. And the more validation you get, the harder it becomes to leave because now you have something to lose, a title, a reputation, a paycheck, an identity. And so intelligence becomes a cage with velvet walls. You don't feel trapped. You feel respected. You feel needed. But what you don't realize is this. The system doesn't care how brilliant you are as long as your intelligence stays on a leash. What the system fears, the system doesn't fear the dropout, the protester, the rebel. It worries the clever mind that walks away insolence. The mind that questions, why am I tackling problems I didn't create? Why am I working for someone else's goals? Why does my intelligence just matter when it's advantageous for someone else? These questions don't lead to rebellion. They lead to evolution. Because once you cease selling your intelligence to the highest bidder, you begin investing it in freedom, the beginning of mental ownership. Here's the shift. You don't need to destroy the system. You just need to quit feeding it with your focus. Imagine what would happen if you utilized your intelligence to build income streams, not roommates. Used your curiosity must develop systems, not chase promotions. Utilized your logic to escape, not excel. Suddenly, you're not playing the game better. You're building your own game. And that's the greatest threat to a system that profits off your participation. The departure isn't loud. It's strategic. You don't need to dispute with the system. You don't need to prove anything. All you need to do is cease offering your mind to be used and start using it for yourself. In the next part, I'll reveal you the exact brain trick that flips this switch. How one small change in thinking breaks the loop of obedience and starts converting your thoughts into tools for personal freedom. This is place you stop thinking like a student and start thinking like an architect. Chapter 3. The brain hack that breaks the loop. The smartest prison is the one it rewards you for remaining inside. The system doesn't need bars. It doesn't need chains. All it needs is a pattern you never notice but keep repeating. That pattern is mental obedience. It looks harmless. You wake up. You check your phone. You get to work. You follow a calendar someone else developed. You fix problems that don't belong to you. You chase goals that don't fulfill you. And at the end of the day, you're too weary to inquire why. That's the loop. And most people, even smart individuals, never escape it because the loop feels productive. It feels accountable. It even feels impressive, but it's still a loop, and it keeps your mind spinning in circles instead of moving ahead. The brain hack. Interrupt the loop with asystematic thought. Here's the hack. Replace linear thinking with systemic thinking. Let me clarify. The system trains you to think in lines. Study, job, promotion, retirement, wake, work, consume, repeat. But the 1%, The system designers, they think in loops, in leverage, in layers. Where the 99% sees steps, the elite sees systems. Systems don't ask what's next, they ask what repeats. Because once you detect a loop, you can break it. You can rewire it, or better still, you can build your own. How to implement the hack right now. Here's how you do it. Ask yourself these 3 questions every single morning. What am I repeating that's not moving me forward? Routines, discussions, behaviors, ideas. What system am I unknowingly feeding? An employer's profits, a school status game, someone else's dream? What loop do I need to build instead? A daily content habit, a skill that compounds, a project that frees me. This isn't about adding more effort. It's about guiding your mind like a weapon, not a worker. The 3-part rewiring formula. Let's make it feasible. Here's the main framework. 1. Zoom out. Your first task is to cease thinking like a task rabbit. Zoom out. Ask, what system am I inside of? Who designed it? Why am I still here? This alone can eliminate 10 years of mental fog. 2. Spot the invisible rule. Every loop has one unspoken rule. For school, obedience. For work, time equals sign value. For social life, fitting in equals sign success. Once you see the hidden rule, question yourself, do I still agree with this? If not, you're already free. 3. Design a new loop. This is where the true shift happens. Design one mental loop that serves you. Learn, teach, monetize, think, create, scale, observe, apply, repeat. You don't require a degree. You don't need authorization. You just need a daily system that evolves your mind in the direction you chose. The consequence from obedience to ownership. The moment you employ this brain hack, everything changes. Suddenly, work becomes discretionary, not default. Education becomes selective, not imposed. Success becomes personal, not performative. This is how you stop obeying unseen scripts and start writing your own. Because the purpose isn't to think harder, it's to think outside of the circle entirely. And once you do, you don't just outthink the system, you leave it behind. Chapter 4. How to see the game. Chapter 4. How to see the game and stop playing it and quit playing it. You can't win a game you don't know you're playing. And the system's greatest trick was convince you this was life. Most people are stuck not because they're weak, but since they're playing someone else's game with rules they didn't create, chasing riches they don't even desire. They don't realize they're in a game. They assume it's just how life works. That's the trap. The system doesn't need to coerce you. It just needs to make the game feel authentic. Get a job, you win. Buy a house, you win. Work 40 years, you win. Retire exhausted, sorry, and replaceable, but still think you won because everyone around you claps as you follow the script. And no one tells you the truth. You were never free. You were just playing good. The architecture of the game. To exit the game, you first have to see the board. Here are the 4 primary systems that control how 99% of humans think. 1. The time trap. If I only keep working, I'll get ahead. No, you're just getting older. The system trains you to trade hours for approval. From school bells to paychecks, your time becomes their product, and you become a tool that feels responsible for being used. The most obedient players lose their lives by the hour and call it a career. 2. The money delusion. Work hard and the money will come. No, the system doesn't reward effort. It rewards position and leverage. That's why a CEO makes more in one meeting than a teacher earns in a year. That's why someone with a digital product can make money while asleep, and someone with a job can't leave for 3 days without asking permission. The reality, money flows to people who own systems, not obey them. 3. The identity box. Be practical, be humble, fit in. You've been sculpted to retain your personality inside the lines. Don't be overly intense. Don't think too big. Don't stick out. But this isn't humility. It's containment. It's how the game trains you to reject your own potential before you even touch it. Your personality was edited. Your ambition was softened. Your quiet was commended, all to keep you easy to manage. 4. The fear lever. Don't risk too much. You'll lose everything. Fear is the last lock. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, dread of beginning from zero. The system doesn't need to stop you. It merely wants to convince you that freedom is too hazardous, so you stay where it's safe and safety becomes your cage. How to see the game differently. The people who flee don't escape via chance. They escape through perception. They see the game as it is, not how it's advertised. So how do you start seeing? Here's a framework you can use immediately, now. The 3-part game recognition protocol. Step 1, name the game. Ask yourself, what game am I playing? Who benefits from me playing it? What belief is keeping me inside it? If you can't name the game, you're imprisoned in it. Step 2, break the rule that isn't real. Every game has one phony rule. Find it, question it, destroy it. Examples. You need a degree to prosper. You have to work 40 years to gain freedom. You must fight to merit wealth. Ask, what if that rule was never true? Because most of them never were. Step 3, stop playing, start constructing. The true power isn't in playing the game better. It's in making your own game entirely, where you manage your income, learning, identity, direction, where their words don't come from applause but from alignment. You don't escape by winning. You escape by exiting. Here's what they won't tell you. The most powerful individuals aren't playing harder. They've fled the board totally. They live by different rules. Their mind is constructed on different values, and their intelligence. It's not for sale. It's for creation. That's your next move. Chapter 5. Building Mental Autonomy. Chapter 5. Building mental autonomy. You don't need additional knowledge. You need to recover your mind from the machine. Most folks don't fail because they're not smart. They fail because their thinking belongs to someone else. They think with words they didn't choose. They chase goals they didn't create. They live by rules they never questioned. And the system loves that because an obedient thinker is predictable, controllable, profitable. But you're here to claim your ideas. Not with insurrection, but with architecture. This chapter isn't about motivation. It's regarding mental autonomy, the ability to develop your own operating system and edit it without asking for permission. Let's begin. What is mental autonomy? Mental autonomy means your thinking is self-directed, self-correcting, self-rewarding. You no longer rely on education to learn. You no longer rely on jobs to earn. You no longer rely on culture to define success. You become your own source code. And that scares the system because once you can think for yourself, you cease requiring what they sell. Step 1. Cut the default inputs. Most minds aren't free since they're never quiet. They're swamped with social media noise, political distraction, shallow content, created fear, status comparison. All of that is mental pollution. To create autonomy, you must cut the feed. Not forever, just long enough to hear your own mind again. Silence is the first step to self-authorship. Start with 24 hours of input fasting. No content, no opinions, no digital noise, only your thoughts. Raw, unfiltered, uncomfortable. That ache, it's not weakness. It's withdrawal from mental dependency. Step 2. Rebuild your learning system. Forget school. Here show you actually generate intelligence. 1. Cure it ruthlessly. Don't read what's popular, read what's useful. Study wealth, psychology, systems, power. Filter by results, not reputation. 2. Learn in layers. Stop consuming passively. Apply, teach, explain. The brain recalls what it must replicate. 3. Create feedback loops. Don't wait for tests. Test yourself every day via reflection, results, and reality. 4. Track evolution, not information. Ask, what changed in me this week? Not, what did I read? Step 3. Unlearn the job mindset. The job mindset is simple. Iterate time for approval. Mental autonomy flips that. It asks, how can I exchange thought for freedom? Here's how. Build a skill that compounds. Solve a problem you don't need permission to address. Turn that solution into a system, product, service, or process. Now, you're not working. You're building leverage. And that's the income route off free thinkers, not servile ones. Step 4. Redefine value. Mental autonomy requires a new concept of value. Value equal impact plus independence. If anything makes you dependent, even if it appears nice, it's not value. If something makes you more free, even if it's small, it is. Degrees don't equal value. Titles don't equate value. Ownership equals value. Sovereignty equals value. Autonomous minds halt chasing permission. They start creating optionality. Step 5, establish a mind that's self-supporting. You don't just want intelligence. You want sustainable cognition, thought that fuels itself. Here's how. A definite purpose. Why do I think? A system. How do I evolve? Feedback. Where am I wrong? Reflection. What did I learn today? Repetition. How do I lock it in? That's how you develop a mind that upgrades every 24 hours without school, without bosses, without applause. That's what terrifies the system the most. A brain that improves without them. Chapter 6. Becoming the 1% mind. Chapter 6. Becoming the 1% mind. You don't escape the system to prove something. You escape it because it no longer deserves access to your intellect. Most people think the 1% are born lucky, but the fact is far colder and far harsher, empowering. The 1% don't have different brains. They have various protocols. They use thought differently. They interpret fear differently. They respond to pressure differently. And above all, they never think by accident. This final chapter is your integration. You've seen the machine. You've learned the hack. Now it's time to live as the exception. Step 1. Think in systems, not struggles. The ordinary mind thinks emotionally. I'm stuck. I need to work harder. I just need one more opportunity. The 1% mind doesn't think in effort. It thinks in architecture. Instead of asking, what do I need to do? It asks, what system would make this problem irrelevant? They don't hustle. They construct loops, mental loops, income loops, affect loops. They construct once and let it evolve forever. Step 2. Disconnect from noise. The average mind needs stimulus to feel alive. News, notifications, disagreement, validation, but the 1% mind runs cold, silent, surgical. It doesn't crave dopamine. It curates it. Why? Because too much mental noise reduces clarity, and clarity is everything. To ensure clarity, guard your inputs, protect your mornings, exit meaningless chats, limit exposure to persons who think in terror. Mental sovereignty needs emotional filtration. Step 3. Ruthless self-calibration. The 1% don't merely learn, they measure. They ask, what beliefs are slowing me down? What fears am I justifying as realistic? What part of my identity is still performative? Average minds defend themselves. Exceptional minds debug themselves not with embarrassment, with interest. Every week, every quarter, they peel away illusions because every delusion you retain costs you a portion of your potential. Step 4. Operate from calm power. The world teaches force. Push harder, grind more, be louder. The 1% act differently. They utilize stillness as strength, patience as strategy, ambiguity as leverage. They don't rush because they're already in control. They don't seek approval since they already picked their principles. And when they act, it's accurate. No noise, no disarray, no wasted movement. That's the energy of mental freedom, not revolt, not performance, control, final integration. Run the algorithm. You now have the whole structure. Let's lock it in. Here's the daily mental algorithm to increase your intelligence every 24 hours. Silence 30 minutes. Disconnect from noise. Let clarity rise. Question one system. Spot a loop. Ask why. You're in it. Learn one idea not from social media, from source. Build one asset, something little that grows over time. Skill, page, product, concept. Reflect 10 minutes. What did I think no that I didn't think yesterday? Repeat this quietly, daily, relentlessly. And within 12 months, you'll no longer think like the 99%. You won't fit in. You won't be comprehended, and you won't care since you'll eventually belong to something higher. A mind you built, a system you govern, a life that doesn't need a leash. You didn't listen to this audiobook to be entertained. You listened because part of you already know the system is real. The control is calm, and the escape begins in the mind. So here's your final reminder. You were never average. You were conditioned to think tiny. That ends here because the world doesn't require more smart people in cages. It needs more minds that walk away in quiet and build something the system can't touch. Now go create it. If this hit you deeper than you thought, share it. Silently. Not for attention, but for alignment. Because the true ones, they'll feel it instantly. Release to Chapter 3 once a week until the system inside your mind is entirely erased. Leave a review, not for me, but for the next person who's still trapped. Your words might break their loop. And if you want more like this, more dark clarity, more prohibited tools, more silent updates, I've constructed a vault for minds like yours. Find the link among the top comments. No advertising, no noise, just raw psychological enhancements for the 1% who are done being subservient. You don't need permission to be free. You only need to remember who you were before they educated you to forget. Welcome back. Your mind is yours again. Now go build a life they can't.